So this is the long version of this video. This video is going to have all of the content that I put together, and that's why this video is a half an hour long. If you'd like to know just the quick overview of what this generator is like, its unboxing experience, first oil put into it, and the first startup, and you want a 10-minute version of this, go ahead and click up here for the short version. Otherwise, this is the full half an hour. If you want to see the panels off, and see all the nitty-gritty details, see the carb, see the exhaust, everything, stick with this video. First start, let's see what happens. Hey guys, and welcome to Doing Things Dan's Way. So today UPS showed up with a 3800 watt generator for me here. Last weekend we had a couple 110 degree days, and in the middle of that my power went out. It was miserable. This guy wouldn't start for me. And so I figured out, you know what, it's time to step up and get something bigger, something that can run the air conditioner and the fridge and everything else. I already have a multi-channel transfer switch that I use for my off-grid solar. And so this will give me something I can just connect up and immediately have my fridge working, my office working, my garage door opener working. So you click up here, there will be a playlist that will be all the videos in this series. So in this series, this is video number 1. I'm going to show an unboxing and setup, as well as early burn-in procedures. I also have plans to, and I'm in contact with one, I'll get a couple more conversion kits to convert this to natural gas and propane. I would love to be able to connect this to the side of the house where I have natural gas hookup available, and to be able to run this basically indefinitely. So look for a video in this playlist that's also about converting this to propane. But if you're interested in seeing this video series, definitely click subscribe. Hit the bell if you want, and that'll really make it pop right up that I've just released a new video. That'd be awesome as well. So this is more just kind of kickoff video. Let's get this box open and show you what's inside this thing. I mean, step 1, this thing's heavy. It is over 100 pounds, and put it in a box this big makes it definitely something you have to use a trolley to drag around. Starting off, let's get this thing cut open and take a look at what's inside. This is Doing Things Dan's Way. Don't go away. User's guide, tool bag, funnel. What's the back? Okay. It's bigger than I thought. Is that weird to say? That makes it super easy. Handle is plastic with a metal hinge and a metal handle out here, but this is just a ribbed plastic piece. Look at the front panel here. So you've probably seen a lot of this already, so I'm not going to dig into detail. But in general, you got like a master control for start, run modes. You've got a display, which is going to give you, watts and currents. It has nice meters to say what the current load is and what the amount of fuel is left in the tank. That to me is huge, that it is giving you details on fuel level with just like a glance. You've got normal outlets and a nice 30 amp breaker. You've got a cigarette lighter out, and you've got USB out, which is great. Right off of here you can charge things. It does have a ground, which you'll want to connect breakers. It also has a parallel capability. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out if I can parallel this 3800 watt unit with the 2350 watt unit. I don't know if that's allowed, but I'm going to talk to WEN and see if that's possible. If so, I'm going to see how well the two units will balance load, because that's one of my big questions when you have two generators running. How do you know that one unit isn't running at 95% and one unit's running at 5%? How do they load balance? If I get around to making that video, I'll link it right here. So if there's something right where my finger is, then you know that video has been made. Jump on it. So this is a little quick start guide that they give you right on the top here. So it has a number of steps to get this thing up and running. First step is filling and checking oil, filling it with gas, and then connecting the battery. So we're supposed to connect the battery's negative terminal, which is down here. Next we will connect a ground. Who does that? We will turn off the eco mode before we start it. we will turn the 3-in-1 switch to on, and we will press the start button, which is this guy here. If that doesn't work, or if we want to, we can use the pull start, which is on the side. Start it up, we can switch it back to run. So presumably that is choke on, and that is just normal run mode. Then it says allow the engine to run for a couple of minutes to settle, and then start connecting your loads. Almost all these generators are really cautioning you about starting the unit up with a load already connected, as that can damage the inverter inside. You're supposed to disconnect the load, fire it up, and reconnect the load. So to shut the unit down, you're supposed to disconnect everything, then shut the switch to the off mode, and then generator will shut off in a few minutes. Now, what this does when you go to auto off mode is it is going to turn off the fuel, and it will burn off all the fuel that's in the carburetor, in the bowl below it. The beauty of that is you don't end up with fuel that sits there and evaporates over time and leaves a big gummy residue on the bottom. It's amazing how much particulate matter there is, how much gooey residue there is in our fuels, all the additives and such. And so you really need to clean out or completely empty the carb when you're going to store it for any length of time whatsoever. This unit does it every single time you shut off if you switch it to the off mode and then let it run for a minute or two to empty out that carb. Interesting that this is a lithium-ion battery. This is not a little lead-acid battery. So it's definitely a little unique. In fact, the box itself said that this could not be air freighted because of the battery that's in here. And this little slider insert is saying that there are 4 mounting plates actually on the bottom of the generator that came for the sake of shipping. Make sure that you remove these mounting plates before operating your generator. Okay, it says to put this up on a table and with the help of a friend, remove the 4 bottom bolts without tilting the thing over. Okay. One right there. Oh. Well, okay. I didn't expect it to be something I could just remove that easily. Okay, so it turns out it's a 10mm nut. They say curiosity killed the cat, but as an engineer, until I understand how something works, I'm just not one with it. So let's pop it open and find out what's behind the covers. So, oil. You know, they pre-oiled everything, so I'm gonna need to put oil in it. Now, what I do like about this generator for sure is that it has this really nice oil dump tube built right in. So you can just pull this guy out over the edge of something and drain the oil without having to like tip the generator, which is how pretty much all the other ones that I've seen have to do. So that right there is a fantastic little feature. In a sense, I want to rinse out the manufacturing debris that might still be in there. Okay, so one obvious observation is that the whole back of this has a good 3/4 inch, at least a half, if not 3/4 inches worth of foam in it as a sound dampener. So from this side of the motor, there's not much to look at. And we have a number of cable assemblies that are going from front to back. And there's almost nothing else here except our oil connection and a couple ground points to the chassis. Now, one observation here is that right in front of the recoil is the circuit board for this front panel. I'm not a huge fan. It's completely potted circuit board, meaning the circuit board is put into a tray and filled with potting compound. So the beauty of that is it can help dissipate thermal throughout the potting compound, and of course it makes the circuit board watertight. It also makes it 100% non-serviceable. So even if a capacitor were to fail or something, digging in through that epoxy and getting a part out will be very, very difficult. Okay, this side's not showing us any secrets. Let's open it up and find out. Okay, again, we have this nice 3/4 of an inch worth of foam in here. It's the air intake coming over and up. A normal generator will just use a governor. So this is actually a computer controlled
fly-by-wire, if you will, style of generator because of the inverter function. So the motor only runs hard enough to provide enough power for the inverter to do its job to give us AC. But we are ultimately generating a DC voltage on capacitors that gets inverted up to AC. And that's how we get a nice true sine AC. But that's also what allows us to back off the power that the motor is putting out and back down the speed of the motor, because we don't need that much speed to generate power to deliver 200 watts into a fan or a refrigerator or something. So you can see here poking out from the front is the battery. So we're going to need to get the negative terminal of the battery connected. Let's look in this tool bag and see what they gave us. Okay, so we have a plasticky little cheapy Phillips. Got a 10 millimeter, 8, 10, 14, and 17 millimeter wrenches. And we have a spark plug remover. So an F6RTC is a spark plug that's in here. I do like that the service guide actually has a lot of good information in it. It has the full electrical diagram, troubleshooting information, and it shows full exploded views, although they're small, but it shows full exploded views of all the parts and the part numbers of all the parts. So this gives me confidence that, like, all the way down to a crankshaft assembly or a nut or a bolt, that you could call them up and just that handle alone. Okay, well, that's pretty much this side for now. Let's flip around to the back side and take a look there. So all we can see here right now is just the spark arrestor sticking out the back, and that's something we're supposed to open up and take a look at every once in a while. But let's go ahead and pull off this back plate and see what's back here. Looks like it had tabs in the top, so be mindful of that. Don't try and pull the top out first. So not much to see here. They basically just put a plastic cowling around the back side of the motor so that the airflow going through the motor pushes right through the exhaust, which is helping to cool the muffler, and it's going to blow out this way. So presumably a decent amount of airflow is happening coming this direction, which should keep the muffler from overheating. Because part of this whole design is we're taking a hot motor and we're completely wrapping it in plastic and insulation. So there has to be a plan for airflow over the outside of the motor part itself and the muffler. So that's what they've done here with these plastic cowlings that's going around and this seal. But then outside of that, they've done a good job of putting in a channel for that gasket to go to keep the air going straight out. In fact, it has a little bit of a down angle to it as well, trying to, again, reduce noise. But otherwise, there's no service components back here except for the little spark arrestor. Okay, well, let's spin it back around to the front and let's connect up that battery. So to get this battery out, I'm going to grab this tab, we're going to push down and release this clasp from a metal hook that's on the bottom. So you can see that was hooked on under this little metal clasp right there. So having done that, now with this side open, I can help to push the battery out. Okay, so now that we have the battery out, I'm just going to grab this electrical connection right here, and we're going to mount that to the screw right there. I'm not having much luck keeping that this rubber boot over the battery right there. I'm not sure that that's really going to matter. Rubber strap down. I worry about that rubber strap failing in the long term. Now we should. I'm not going to. It's alive. Okay, now that we have the battery installed and accidentally tested. I didn't quite expect to trigger it at that moment. It startled me. It's kind of funny. Okay, let's go ahead and install this magnetic dipstick. So I picked up a magnetic dipstick as well, and I'll put a link to where I got this off of Amazon down there in the description. This is pretty nice. It's substantially better looking. It feels kind of massive actually, but it looks nice. Let's see how this compares to the plastic one inside. Okay, well, it's the same length. It has an inserted, like, rare earth magnet on it that is strong enough to pick up a decent sized socket. So it's, you know, it's pretty powerful. So I can see how that would certainly do a good job of pulling in bits and pieces. My plan, okay, so they give you this cute little funnel. Now, what they want you to use is a 5W30 oil. This is a full synthetic, which is going to get me the full temperature spectrum according to the user's guide. What I'm choosing to do here is put the exact amount that I need, which is 0.55 liters, in this bottle, so that all I have to do is dump it in. In this case, you're supposed to have the generator nice and flat, and you're supposed to run the oil right up to the bottom of the threads that you'll see just inside the opening. And so, because I'm not level, because I'm filming, I'm just going to pre-measure the oil and dump it in that way. If I tip this towards level, I have oil right up to my threads here. Okay, you can see it right at the edge of the thread, so that should be fine. Let's put in our... Now, they say is put the dipstick in so it just touches, but don't screw it in. And look at it that way. And so with clean oil, it's always kind of hard to tell where you're really at. Let's dry it off good. Set it right there. And yeah, it's right there in the middle of the threads, so that's fine. Now let's put this guy in. It's honestly really hard to tell. I mean, there's a drip that's floating around on it, but it's kind of hard to tell where it really is. So I think just visually looking and making sure your oil is coming up to the bottom of the threads. And I'll correct this if I'm wrong. If a video pops up here called, no, do it this way, you'll know I'm correcting myself. But yeah, it should be right to the bottom of the threads. Now, just a word on safety here. Don't ever start a generator like in an enclosed garage. Right now, I have the door down. I could fire this thing up, and as soon as I'm smelling exhaust, I'm sucking in carbon monoxide. That will put you down really quickly. And the way that works is it makes you loopy and it kills your decision-making process. And before you know it, you're just deciding to take a nap on the floor, and you're dead when your wife finds you. So, don't go there. These things need to be put far and away from your living space so that you're not sucking in any air. Yeah. Good. Okay, let's roll it out a bit and aim the exhaust that direction. I have a whole house fan on, so the house is pressurized with fresh air coming from the far side of the house. So there's no concern that even stuff that ends up in the garage here will end up in the house because it's literally blowing out of the house towards me. So that's my excuse. Don't slam me in the comments below. But that's why I'm going to just park it right here, move you guys along with me, and fire it up here. Here's what I'm going to do. This is, if I fill this right to that rounded lip, that is exactly 1 cup. So I'm going to put exactly 1 cup of fuel in here so that I know, well, how much is in here. I can get some idea of runtime, at least in this first few minutes of running. It should actually run a fair bit of time before this runs out. So all we have to do to start is turn our control to, so just going to run, it's going to open up the carb and allow fuel to start to dump into it. And fill up the bowl of the carburetor. So I'll give that a second because this hasn't been run. And we should switch it to start. fire it, and as soon as it catches, we're gonna turn it back off. So yeah, just making sure you're not in eco mode when you start up either. That's the other thing they warn you about. So first start, let's see what happens. Wow. Okay, so talking just like I was, this is very muffled sounding, mostly low frequency tones. I just shut it off, so it's going to run the fuel out of the car, and this will take a little bit, and then it'll shut off. Okay, so see how long that took for it to actually die. I want to try two things. One, I'm going to pull out that magnetic dipstick and see if we already have any metal particles on it. Two, I'm going to open up the other side where the carb is, open it up and see how much gas is left in the bottom of the carburetor bowl. I don't expect it to be completely dry. I'm just interested, is it a couple drops, is it a teaspoon, is it a tablespoon? Just to understand how much fuel is going to sit there and eventually evaporate off and leave a residue behind. There is the finest little bit of black. I can't feel anything, but there is a little teeny bit of black. See that little bit? Very, very fine. I could just barely feel the texture of it on there. So this guy's already doing something to eliminate some particles in the oil. Well, let's take a look at the carb real quick, see how much fuel's still in it. I gotta say, I really like the feel of this thing. It's stupid as it sounds. That plastic is just so janky. It just makes you feel like it's just gonna break. This is sweet. This silly little dipstick. Why am I happy by the dipstick? I don't know. Maybe because I'm a guy? So these are, here's the carb. This little drain down here is what we're gonna go for. And this has a drain plug down here at the bottom. So I'm just going to put a little lid under it. I'm assuming that lid will be enough to capture what's going to drip out. Let's unscrew right here. Okay, drip, drip, drip. Okay. 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon. So maybe 11, 12 full drops of fuel is all that was left in the bottom of the carb. So that makes me feel good that the carb itself, even with that, if that amount of fuel were to evaporate, it would take a long time for that to get scuzzed up. And of course, next time we turn this on, fuel's going to go back in there. It's going to help dissolve this residue. And because the residue isn't this huge pile of residue, it will clean itself out. I gotta say, it's really tempting to want to turn this by grabbing the orange knob, almost like it's a lock release. I could see myself grabbing that and turning it and having it fire up right away on accident, kind of like the first time I did earlier. So it ran for a couple minutes already, so I'm just going to try and fire it from the start position. I mean, from the run position, even though it's barely warmed up. Okay, I'll give it a minute to warm up, and then I'm going to put it back in the eco mode.
Videos for YouTube?
Yeah. This one is 30 ether watt. So let's pull out that magnetic dipstick and see what we have after another few minutes of running. It's hot. Okay, scratch that. Let me grab some gloves. Okay, there's definitely a black ring of residue there. Let me grab a paper towel and see if I can wipe that off. There are definitely filings there. I hope you can see that. very, very fine. I mean, I'm not feeling any sharp residue. It would be a very fine abrasive, but I appreciate that this is grabbing even that much residue out of it. The oil itself is totally clear still, but it's neat to see that this is cleaned off again. And the problem with cleaning this off, of course, I'm not going to see what the total accumulation was, but honestly, since I'm recording it, I want to see if over time the residue gets less and less. So I'm going to go throw another cup of gas in it and let it run again. It needs to go into start for it to start properly, but just out of curiosity, I'm going to see if it'll start with the battery. Speaking of the same volume, I would say this is something you would raise your voice over. I'm just speaking the same volume I was, but I feel like I'm being drowned out by this a bit. Notice right away that the majority of the sound is coming from the backside of this. So you'll want to face this in the direction that nobody's at. I will be building a soundproof box for this. That is definitely one of the videos that I have planned. So we'll see how that works out. This is down at back in eco mode, and it's substantially quieter like this. It's not so incessantly drony. The user's guide says you only need to be you can be in eco mode if you're less than like 2,700 watts, which means you can be in this mode even when I'm running an air conditioner or something like that. So not bad at all. As soon as you get away from this any distance, it's not. I mean, you're not ignoring it. It's not like there's no sound by any means, but it's certainly not oppressively loud. I mean, you got a generator running, and that's just reality. Now, when I build a sound box for this, my expectation is it's going to get so quiet. It sounds more like an air conditioner in a window somewhere. It's going to be very, very subtle. So I'll look forward to doing that video sometime here in the future. I have some sound panels that I'm going to be linking in the description of that video for you guys to go try to do the same thing. So, okay, so at this point I've run about 4.5 hours on this generator, just letting it sit either in eco mode or non-eco mode. Most of the time I think it was in eco mode, just to get it to kind of burn in. So let's go ahead and pull the magnetic oil plug out and see how much residue there is on that. And let's go ahead and drain and refill the oil and just start fresh again. You can see so none of what I'm feeling here is chunky. There's no burrs, but there's definitely, a magnetic fine residue. And there's not even really hair so much on there. But yeah, it's definitely just super, super, super fine magnetic material. Still makes me feel good that for $10 I got a nicer knob and I'm pulling away that material, which would have just been that much more finely polishing cylinder walls and all the moving parts inside there. Okay, that was 0.55 liters of oil. And that's all there is to an oil change. Very simple, especially with the that little dipstick that, or the emptying tube. Now I did have to tilt the generator because it was just going to take forever for it to drizzle out, and I didn't feel like it would actually fully empty itself if I didn't actually tilt. So just a 2x4 on the far side, it got to where it actually felt like it fully got to the end and then just stopped right away. It didn't continue to just drizzle forever. So I feel good about that technique. So guys, that just about wraps up this this first video on the 3800i here. So far I like it. It seems reasonably quiet. I don't have another generator to compare it to right now, but I don't feel like I would be hated by all my neighbors if I ran this if I needed to. If anything, it would, hearing a generator if you don't have one would probably draw your attention to want to go find out if you could go throw your meat in their fridge or or hang out in their air conditioning, which is my goal. My goal is I'm going to put in a micro split or mini split air conditioner that runs on 110 that can power from this to replace just a wall unit that's failing that we already have. So look for a video on that on my channel here. And if you like content like this, hey, hit subscribe below and give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. And of course, down in the links below, there are Amazon affiliate links for like the metallic dipstick, for example. It's only $10, and that fits a whole variety of generators. So you don't have to have this generator. The threads and the length of that thing are really generic. So you can, if you've got one already and you just like the idea, go grab one of those. And if you want to support my channel, scroll down, click on the Amazon link, any of them, and then just go buy anything. And honestly, I'll get a couple % of whatever you buy. And that's just a way of really quickly and easily supporting this channel. It helps me buy more video equipment and it helps me buy more stuff that I can review and enjoy. So, and all these things, until next time, guys, be blessed.